Instead of going through the simplified UI, I'm going to go through the advanced UI, which gives you a lot more functionality. So we did that in the previous video, where we kind of picked our environment and went through all this. But you'll see a button here called Exit to Advanced UI, which basically kind of gives you way more control. Um, this is like if you're like if you're a content creator that's familiar with like programs like After Effects or Blender, more kind of serious DCC tools, you'll be able to pick this up quite well. But let's take a look at this, and look at a couple of like important parts that can make your experience better. First of all, you can see that I have my FPS here. I like seeing my FPS because that will give me an idea on how my machine is performing. You can change that if you don't have that because it doesn't set up by default. You can basically go to the preferences, and in the preferences you can basically set your FPS, so show FPS. So I'll set that on here. There's a few other kind of things here. You see I'm running at 4K. I'm also going to set my graphics. Let's set that to Epic. Um, I have an NVIDIA card. I got like a 380 or 3080, and I will set that to let's say I'm going to say go for quality. And you can try that out yourselves, and see what works best for you. Um, so now I see that this is my performance here. I got like 58 frames. Um, since we're on the topic of performance, I'll just stick with that, and show you how you can basically kind of improve things. So when it comes to this kind of performance, there are a couple of other things here that you can use, right? So here you have a button that basically kind of disables the hair. Now this hair is not such a big deal. It's polygonal hair. You still see a bit of a difference on the performance. But if I were to go, for example, and put hair physics on here, let's say I go to my hairstyles, if you can see that we have several different kinds of hair, right? So we have our stylized hair. I'm gonna switch it on, which is very kind of compute efficient. So it's pretty. It barely kind of makes a difference on the frames. This is cart based hair, and this is groom based hair. Now groom based is like the best kind of hair, or the coolest hair. It's the latest tech in computer graphics. What you can see here is like we have different kind of colors. You have your kind of setup. So I can even kind of switch the simulation on here. See that it's not currently kind of moving, but if I switch this on, you see that there's physics on this hair, and I can move it around. I can change the gravity, right? So if I say I have like a gravity of 100, for example, you see that my hair is kind of way more kind of goes up a little bit. You could put some air drag on it, and so on. Still pretty impressive performance. Don't get me wrong. But if I have multiple characters with groom based hair, let's take something complicated here. Let's take this, for example, put physics on it. Now I go to my scene. See that my FPS has dropped to like 26. So you can imagine if you have like a lot of characters in the scene, this can slow things down. So that's why we have this button here, which basically kind of switches off the hair, and you see instantly we go from 65 frames to 26 with the hair on. And you can always this always switches on when you're rendering. Then the button next to this is also if you have, because we've been testing this on several kind of machines. you know, we've been testing it on a 1080 and a 980 even. Now you don't want to have your ray tracing on that, but you are able to basically kind of pick here what you want to switch on, you know. So your cheap lighting mode, you know, you can switch your global illumination off, your reflection. So if I put these things to kind of low, and then have this on performance, you see I have like very kind of fast, you know, UI. And if I'm working on bigger scenes with multiple characters, this works quite, you know, quite nicely. Just to demonstrate that, I can put a bunch of different characters in here. You see, like, you're still hitting pretty high kind of frame rates. Now, if I were to switch on all my hair, you see that this drops considerably. Yeah, so this is a good kind of example on how you work with your kind of performance. And yeah, this is very much depending on what kind of laptop or workstation you have. So I'll leave this by yeah, just saying, like, you know, when you encounter crashes or when you encounter you know, memory errors, keep an eye on your FPS. Use these two features. Because, like, here, for example, like, even if I'm going to, let's say I want to, let's quickly put some different lights on here. Put these lights over there. I'll add another one here. Where's that one? Let's say, boom. Yeah, so we have a couple of light rigs. So if I want to render this, which I would do like this, or I can just say basically render, you will see that hair automatically kind of switches on again. I'm not gonna just render the whole thing. Let's say I just want to do 50 frames. You'll see that my my hair will automatically kind of switch on here, as you can see, and the physics will be enabled, and so on. So when you get to the rendering stage, you know, you will have you'll have that optimization that is no longer needed, and you'll be able to kind of just, you know, take your time over your frames. Now this is going into a aspect ratio that I didn't want, but I'll just show you why this happened. This is our kind of preview camera for thumbnails. You'll see that that is basically here. So if I go to my preview, this is what's being rendered here. So normally you put like something on the timeline that you want, like, for example, let's say if I want to create a camera, let's say I want to create like a low camera, something like this here. The way I like to create my cameras is by going to the viewport. Now I have an option here that says lens override. You can also see that here. So this now kind of creates a cinematic camera, and I'm going to give this like a wide angle lens. Let's say I'm going to be on like a 22. Boom. Maybe I want to go to like an 18. Kind of like a album cover kind of lens. And if I want to create a new camera, I can basically say new camera from viewport. I'll press that. You see that that is camera 1, and I'll say cam wide. Now if I wanted to render with this camera, I'll let's just delete this one here. I'll be on the wide, I'll add that to my track. I'll say this is when you want to look through the camera on your tracks here, you got to switch this on. Maybe I'll give this a little bit of a, let's say we're going to render like 300 frames, and I will say details. Let's say I'm going to have the position here, and then I will move back and up a little bit, and then press keyframe. So now I have this little keyframe. Now if I want that camera to always be looking at this guy in the middle, I would go to details, camera, and I would basically say look at target, look at this guy, and I would also say keep that focus track, and the same thing here. And in here you can set your offset. So now when I basically kind of move, you'll see that it's always kind of like the camera is always kind of staying with this. I'm going to change the speed a little bit so it doesn't have that delay. So let's say that to 5. Now you'll see that it moves quite kind of, it doesn't really have that much of a delay. But I can always kind of say, like, if I want to have a bit more offset, say I might want to see their feet earlier, let's keep that like this. So if I render that now, you'll be able to see. Yeah, okay, so we like that. Let's say render, test render, movement. Let's say I'm just doing a little bit of a demo and I only need HD. Press render. As you can see now, you'll have the hair in there. First time activating the physics sometimes needs a bit of a warm-up. So a lot of times when I do stuff with hair, I actually kind of start my timeline a little bit earlier, or I have my action a little bit later, because you need to kind of pre-calculate and buffer the physics. There is also an option for that in the render settings. But yeah, you see how that works. All right, that's that for this demo.